So here's a great quote. You get praised in public for what you practice in private. And that's Tony Robbins. And let me find where I'm going to stand here. I drew a really cool picture of Tony. If you notice Tony Robbins and you see him on YouTube videos, or you see him standing up in a room, like, the guy is a pretty vibrant person, and his presence is known when you see his face and his gigantic sort of demeanor and stature. Naturally, this guy ended up in the personal development industry, and I know that a lot of people look up to Tony and his books. I have a few of them as well. Some of the recent ones, Money, Master the Game, but some of the more old school ones, like Awaken the Giant Within, which I highly recommend, have a lot of these principles in it. And one of the major things, obviously, that struck out to me is this quote. And I don't have to repeat it again, but in my mind, I go, what are those things? What are those things that you get praised in public for, and you get acknowledged in public, and people say, oh man, that person's so great, that guy's he's really well spoken. Well, what did that person do in private in order to actually be that person who's a really well spoken person when he's in front of an audience, or in front of a camera, or in front of a group of people in a business presentation, or in a sales meeting or something like that? So I thought I'd put him on the board. Obviously, I have some artwork here. And this will be really quick, but let's start with the things in private. So, private is referring to somebody's habits, obviously at home. So let's say you're at home and you read 10 pages a day. Well, what would people say about you in public? Or what impact can reading 10 pages a day have for you in your public behavior, or the way you carry yourself, let's say at work or in a conversation? Well, he's well spoken, or she's well spoken, or even articulate. Now, some people are just really good communicators, even if they don't read a lot. Some people go through spurts of reading a lot and then not reading that much. I'm one of those people. I go through spurts. I have rarely finished a book, especially in recent years, because I'm always so caught up in understanding something really specific from a book. So I'll read the 5 to 10 pages maybe, and I'll zone in on a concept, but then after that I take it with me and I'm gone. But when you think about people who read, they're typically well-spoken people. So that's just an example of something that you would do in private that you would get a public accolade for. Now, here's a good one. What if you work out? Let's say works out daily. In public, people are going to say, wow, that guy has a great physique. Or that guy is looking really good. In private also, like what are things that could potentially improve your confidence? And here's an easy one, like, you're confident at home. Well, in private, if you're confident, in public, people are probably going to say, wow, that's a confident person. So you're going to get praised for your confidence. In addition to the well-spoken and articulate, if we're thinking about reading, and we're thinking about someone who is, let's say, conversationalist, you can see that if you're like a conversationalist at home, they'll probably say, that person's smart. It's really interesting. People always want to call out who's smart, and they want to say, wow, that person's smart. Here's an interesting one. Here's a habit that I have: wakes up at 5 a.m. And sometimes, particularly on a Monday, it's harder to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We know that. But let's say you wake up at 5 a.m., right? What are people going to say about you? Well, typically the influence or the impact of waking up at 5 a.m. could be something as simple as being more organized. So let's say you're a busy individual, and you always have packed days. You always have a lot of things ahead of you, in your career, like within your day. So within an 8-hour day, 10-hour day for some people, you're going to be stacked with meetings, internal work, reports, things like that, depending on your job and your function, of course, right? Here's the advantage that you have for waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not so that you just get extra time, because no doubt you get that extra time, right? But it's the fact that you can use that time to do things like meditate. What I use it for is to work out. Some people use that time to read. I don't necessarily read in the morning, but my brain becomes a bit of an idea factory. I'll even write that down. My brain just starts going and thinking really, really creatively. So there's a reason why 5 a.m. is so impactful, is that you can do all these things while everybody else is asleep. And it's also, to me, there's a competitive thing that sort of applies as well. If you can do these things while everybody else is asleep, you're getting ahead of your competitors, you're getting ahead of the game, which I think is really cool. But you're not really competing with anybody else. You're competing with yourself. So if you're competing with yourself, you just need to be better than you were the day before. Every day you need to be better. Every day you need to try and get better. Imagine this from a percentage perspective. Let's say you get 1% better every month, which I know some people talk about getting 1% better or a little bit better every single day. But like, most people overestimate what they can do in a short amount of time, but they underestimate what they can do in a long period of time. Underestimating what you can do in a month or a few months or a year. But imagine you got 1% better every month. How much better are you going to be at the end of the year? You're going to be 12% better at the end of the year. So I know that's sort of bro math, but if you think about it, you can really make some serious self-improvement and actually become a better person. You should be evolving into becoming a better person every single day. Every year when you're doing your New Year's resolutions, whether you're into that or not, the new calendar year is always the start of something else, something new. If you do a checkpoint on how much you've progressed, you might not feel it because you're doing these things daily, but the people around you may really feel it. Your employer, your boss might really feel it. This person has actually improved quite a bit. If you're improving yourself by 12% in a year, that's massive. You're a completely different person and in a positive way, and you can be whoever you want to be. But having this time in order to work on your self-development or create a foundation, I'm covering this. I don't even know if you guys can see this. I wrote foundation. But there you go. Like, the foundation that you're creating is the most important thing. This is a pillar of your success. So I'm going on a bit of a rant here. If you wake up at 5 a.m., people could say more than just you're organized. People can say all of these things because of the daily habit that you've created. And do whatever you want at 5 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes it's a good way to just get fulfillment. The other thing that 5 a.m. actually does, and I don't mean to turn this into a 5 a.m. video, but the other thing that 5 a.m. does is 5 a.m. gives you consistency. And if you wake up at 5 a.m., you are likely, in the first couple days of doing it, couple weeks of doing it, it might be really hard. But when you're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day, it means you might have to go to bed at 9:30. And if you're consistently going to bed at 9:30, there's so many physical benefits and so many health benefits to going to bed consistently at the same time and having the same nighttime routine, staying away from alcohol, sugar, eating heavy carbs, eating a lot of junk food at night. Once you get into the 5 a.m. club, you truly start embracing this rhythm. And then all of a sudden, your sleep gets better, your health gets better. You'll have so much energy at 5:30 in the morning. It's nuts how much energy I get at 5:30 in the morning. That actually translates into me putting that energy towards things like working out, meditation, again, reading, not necessarily for me, but ideas, and ultimately it will get you organized. I hope you enjoyed this video.